Hi everyone, it's me, Mrs. Stafford, and welcome to our second installment of this month's theme. Does anyone remember what this month's theme is? That's right, character. The character I'm talking about is the mental and moral qualities distinctive to an individual. And our treasure verse is found in Proverbs 27:19. It says, "As water reflects the face, so one's life reflects the heart." So how you live your life and the choices you make define your character. Are you honest, caring, courageous? Well, here are some people that showed great character by their bravery and compassion. With special guest, Mrs. Williams, 4th grade teacher.
Good morning. My name is Mrs. Williams, and it says something in the Bible about love. Let me just read it to you. "A new commandment I give unto you, that ye love one another as I have loved you. By this shall all men know that ye are my disciples, if ye have love one to another." Guess what? It's somebody's birthday today. Do you know who it is? There you go. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He was born January 15, 1929. He was a very important person in American history as a civil rights leader. He wanted people to have equal rights and opportunities, to love each other and be kind to each other. And he helped people to see what they must do in order to have a life that is so much better for all people. He even wrote a speech. It's called "I Have a Dream." A dream that all boys and girls, regardless of the color of their skin, will live and play well together. I'm also going to read a book about a little girl named Ruby Bridges, who was also a hero of the civil rights movement. Her mother taught her how to pray. Pray for kindness, pray for courage, pray for peace. And one other book is going to be about Harriet Tubman, who risked her life so that others could be free. Her belief in God helped her remain fearless, even when she came face to face with many challenges. So you see, all three of these important people in American history prayed for God's continual rich blessings and His protection as they changed the course of history. Ruby Bridges. Ruby Bridges became famous when she was only 6 years old. She was the first African American student to go to an all-white school in Louisiana. Ruby was born on September 8, 1954, in Tylertown, Mississippi. She had 2 younger brothers and a younger sister. Her family moved to New Orleans, Louisiana, when Ruby was 4. At the time, African American people were treated unfairly in many parts of the country. Segregation laws kept black people and white people separate. Things that were meant for black people were not as good as those that white people used. But things were about to change. In 1954, a new law said that schools had to integrate. That meant that black children must be allowed to attend white schools. Many white people in the South hated the idea of their children sharing a classroom with black children. A brave young girl, Ruby was chosen to integrate William Franz Elementary School in New Orleans. She would be the only African American in the school. The white parents were very angry. They were ready to do what they could to stop Ruby from coming. Ruby started first grade on November 14, 1960. Angry protesters were waiting outside the school when she arrived. Federal marshals had to protect Ruby and her mom as they entered the school. Once inside the school, Ruby and her mother were taken to the principal's office. They waited there all day. They saw white parents take their children home. The parents chose to keep their kids out of school rather than have them be there with a black child. On her second day of school, Ruby faced the same screaming parents outside her school. Inside, her new teacher, Barbara Henry, greeted Ruby with a hug. Ruby was Mrs. Henry's only student. There were no other kids in the class. A hard year. Ruby was the only student in her class all year. It was not safe for her to eat in the lunchroom or to play outside at recess. Ruby became very lonely. Mrs. Henry ate lunch with her student and tried to make class fun. The next year, there were more black kids at Ruby's school. The protesters were gone, but so was Mrs. Henry. Ruby always wondered what happened to her teacher. Ruby grows up. When she grew up, Ruby married Malcolm Hall and had a family of her own. In 1995, she reunited with her favorite teacher, Mrs. Henry. They hugged each other like they used to every morning in the first grade. In 1999, Ruby wrote a book about her life called Through My Eyes. She also started the Ruby Bridges Foundation. The foundation helps parents and schools work together to end racism. Ruby Bridges was a brave little girl who grew into an amazing woman. Her courage helped bring about important changes in the United States, and her story continues to inspire people today. Harriet Tubman. Harriet Tubman was very brave. She spent her life fighting slavery. A slave is someone who is owned by another person. A long time ago, there was slavery in the United States. Most slaves, like Harriet, were African Americans. Many worked on large farms. They did not get paid to work. They had very hard lives. Harriet Tubman was born in Maryland around 1820. She was a slave. Most slaves were not allowed to play or to go to school. The people who owned Harriet treated her badly. They beat her many times. Like all slaves, Harriet had to do whatever her owners told her to do. Harriet ran away in 1849. She escaped with the help of the Underground Railroad. It was not a real railroad. It was a group of people who helped slaves escape to states where there was no slavery. Harriet escaped to Pennsylvania. The state of Pennsylvania was a free state. That means there was no slavery there. Harriet wanted to help other slaves run away. She became part of the Underground Railroad. It was very dangerous work. Harriet moved the runaway slaves in the middle of the night. She led them from one stop on the Underground Railroad to the next. Many people wanted to stop Harriet. They said that they would give a lot of money to whoever caught her. Harriet did not worry about getting caught. She helped more than 300 slaves leave their owners. A war began in the United States in 1861. This was the Civil War. Slave states fought against free states. Harriet helped the free states. The Civil War ended in 1865. The free states won. Slavery was no longer allowed. All slaves were set free. Harriet spent the rest of her life helping people who had been slaves. Harriet died in 1913. She will always be remembered for the great risks she faced so that others could be free. We just read about 3 people with remarkable determination and outstanding character. We continue to applaud them on behalf of humanity. It reminds me of Matthew 5:44, where it says, "But I say to you, love your enemies, bless those who curse you, do good to those who hate you, and pray for those who spitefully use you and persecute you." How will you choose to treat others? May God's continued rich blessings be yours today.
Thank you, Mrs. Williams. Remember what Proverbs 27:19 says, "As water reflects the face, so one's life reflects the heart." Through their actions, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Ruby Bridges, and Harriet Tubman revealed that they were courageous and compassionate. I hope that you can look to these people as wonderful examples as you seek to be a better person. And remember, make good choices.